So you want to engineer your ship. Well, you're going to need a good source of high-grade manufactured materials. So here's the fastest and easiest way to max them out quick. Let's do this. At some point, you've probably seen the long list of signals that pops up in your nav panel, especially in heavily populated systems. Well, one of those signals, the high-grade emissions signal, is a marker for caches of grade 4 and 5 manufactured materials, hence high grade. Those are the signals that we'll be chasing down today. But first, let's make sure you have the right ship. You'll be scooping these materials up with collector limpets, so you'll need at least one collector limpet controller, as well as a decent amount of cargo racks. Now keep in mind, the cargo racks aren't for the materials themselves, as they don't actually take up any cargo space, but you will need space to store your collector limpets. Size and quantity are up to you, but 20 tons of cargo space is a good starting point. To make it easy, if you have a mining ship lying around, you could easily just use that. Other than that, having the SCO frameshift drive will save you a good chunk of travel time, as a fair amount of these signals tend to be a few thousand light seconds away from the central star. And speaking of frameshift drives, having a decent jump range might also save you some time, depending on how far away your target systems are. So for these examples, I just went with my Corsair, which has a decent amount of cargo space and a decent jump range. And one last thing before you go. You'll be able to top off the materials we're collecting pretty quick, so it's a good idea to hit up a materials trader first and trade those materials down to clear up some space. When you do, remember that trading materials within the same category will give you the following trade ratios between the different grades. But if you trade materials from one category to another, you'll get a reduced rate for that trade. So if you have the materials and the space, try to stay within the same category for your trades. Alright, enough setup. Let's go get some materials. So, where do you go? Well, that depends on what materials you're after. The materials you'll find in a given system depend on its population, the controlling faction, and the system state. The first one is easy. You'll want to look in systems that have a population of over 1 million, as those systems are far more likely to have high-grade emission signals. The other two categories are where the magic lies. Courtesy of Commander Tara Light, here are the details. I'll have a link to the original post on Inara as well, down in the description. So, for example, if you were looking for improvised components, you would want an independent system with a system state of unrest. You could therefore use Inara to search for the nearest systems in that state, like so. Just put in your current system, pick above 1 million under population, choose independent as the allegiance, and civil unrest in the controlling faction state. Hit search, and here are the nearest systems that fit that criteria. In addition, there's also a very handy high-grade emissions finder app created by Commander Americ45, which shows in pseudo-real-time the HGE spots being reported by players in-game. This site is very handy. However, it does reset after each Thursday's server tick, so I've occasionally seen it completely empty, sometimes for a day or two after the tick. Again, I'll have a link down in the description as well. So, with all that being said, thanks to the buffs that FDev put in last year, each high-grade emission site is overflowing with high-grade materials now, so you can usually max out on those materials in one trip. In that case, regardless of the specific materials you need, you could just hit whatever system is closest to you, and then head to a materials trader and trade for the specific ones you're after. This could very well be faster than trying to hunt down the right system for a specific material. So, now you've got a target system, you've got your ship, what do you do once you get there? First, head over to the nav beacon location. Now drop out of Super Cruise and scan the beacon. Make sure you target the beacon in the contacts, then hold your scan for 15 seconds until it's complete. This will reveal all the signals for the system. So once you go back into Super Cruise, go to your nav panel and look for the high-grade emission signal. Target that signal and head on over. Now notice that there is a time limit for that signal, so you'll need to get there before that timer expires. This is where the SCO comes in handy. Once you arrive, you'll see a large field of debris, and scattered in that field will be your bounty of materials. So check out your contacts list and you'll be able to see what's there. At this point, nothing left to do now but pop open your cargo hatch, let your limpets fly, and wait for them to vacuum up all the materials. And one last note here. Occasionally there will be NPC pirates waiting at the site. So either have your cargo empty of anything valuable, or be ready to take out a pirate or two. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Clean out this site, then hit up another one, or head to the materials trader to trade for whatever you need. If this helped you out, please do drop a like below, and if you want more Elite Dangerous guides, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And as always, fly dangerously, Commanders. I'll see you next time.